Most of the virgins in 2022 in the West under 30 are men. The following clip is taken from Courtney Ryan's YouTube channel. Let's get into it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're talking about a very interesting topic that definitely caught my attention, and that is that a third of men under 30 aren't having sex. I know this seems like a bit of a spicy topic for my channel, but I think it's...
And that's because the guys at the top 20% of men, are getting all the play, and the dudes at the bottom are getting nothing. According to Tinder stats, the top 80% of women are going for the top 20% of men. So a chick who's a 2, even 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they all want the top 20% of guys. So you guys have to get your game up. That's why I keep emphasizing. Get your money up, get your physique up. If you're fat, go to the gym. Your height, unfortunately, you can't change, but everything else you can. Like you can get your money up. That helps a lot, even if you're a fat, ugly dude. But I would say, still, even if you get your money up, you have to work on the fitness. You can't just be a fat motherfucker with money, because even Biggie Smalls got played because we know Tupac smashed his wife. Everybody knows that. So don't be like Biggie, even though Biggie was an all-time great. I fuck with his music, but his wife did get fucked by Tupac. So that's an L. You don't want to be that guy. Be Tupac. Be the guy she cheats with. Have the money and also be in shape. If you I would recommend joining an MMA gym. It's great for fitness, worked great for me. Weights got boring for me. I used to do weights, but that got really boring real fast and I stopped going. But MMA was actually something that I found fun. But if you don't want to get punched in the face, because a lot of people don't like that, just do weights. Muscles beats everything, even height. Trust me. And I'm 6'2", and I'm telling you this.
It's really interesting when you look at the data and the research behind it and really getting into the nitty-gritty of why this is taking place. I'll be honest, my initial thought was, oh, it's all the incels or the people who, have never interacted with women and all of this, but it actually goes much further than that, and there's a lot of really interesting details that I wanted to share with you because it's not really what it seems to be. So I'm going to take you along with me as I look at some of these articles and we can just kind of go through it together. So let's get started. They're calling it the Great American Sex Drought, which I thought was kind of funny, but anyways. This article is really interesting from the New Yorker. It says, how everyone got so lonely. The recent decline in rates of sexual activity has been attributed variously to sexism, neoliberalism, and women's increased economic independence.
Yeah, because now with economic independence, women don't need you anymore. If you're a guy who makes 30, 40K a year, you drive a Toyota Camry, they don't need you, bro. They can get their own Camry and they can get their own bullshit apartment. So unless you're a guy at the top, at the tippy top, they don't want you, bro.
How fair are
Get
those
your game
claims,
up.
and will we be saved by the advent of the sex robot? This was April 4th, 2022. It goes on to say stuff about the pandemic, how people were thinking this would increase sexual activity, but it actually did the opposite. Not so obvious is why, for several years before the virus appeared on our shores, we had already been showing distinct signs of sluggishness in the attraction and affiliation departments. In 2018, nearly a quarter of Americans, the highest number ever recorded, reported having no sex at all in the previous 12 months. Only 39% reported having intercourse once or more a week, a drop of 12 percentage points since 1996. The chief driver of this so-called sex drought is not as one might expect, the aging of the American population, but the ever more abstemious habits of the young. Since the 911, the Great American Sex Drought.
I'm on the 50th floor. I don't have that problem. Courtney, get your game up. You're not high up enough in the sky, sweetie.
One moment. Since the 1990s, the proportion of American high school students who are virgins has risen from 45% to 60%. People who are in their early 20s are estimated to be 2.5 times more likely to be sexually inactive than members of Gen X were at the same age. And basically it goes along to say that there are a bunch of different reasons why this is taking place. So I had made some notes about the most prominent ones that I was seeing across a ton of different articles. One thing that I saw a few times was low testosterone and how it's continuing to decrease in men as the years go by. I had seen some statistics about it. I can put a little graph in here to show you. But I think this is really interesting, and I think a lot of this has to do with products that we're using.
It's in the food. There's a chemical attack going on in the food. I'm not going to get too much into it. But you got to watch what you eat, man. There's a lot of things in food, especially processed, microwaved, and any kind of processed food. They have chemicals in them that lower your testosterone.
Food that we're consuming.
The plastic on the bottles, the BPA, that reduces your testosterone. There's a bunch of other things. They put fluoride in the water supply. You got to watch out for all these things.
Chemicals in all of our stuff, plastic everywhere. I know I sound a little bit wacky saying that, and a couple years ago, if someone said that, I would have been like, okay. But it makes sense when you think about it and how it's continuing to decrease in men as the years go by. And on the flip side for women, I think birth control has really affected this as well. But this video is about men under 30 not having sex, so I will save that for a different video, and I can kind of talk about my experience with birth control because it was terrible. But anyway, moving on. And the second thing I saw that I really didn't even think about until I saw it in some of these articles was the decline of youthful marriage. So it says more people are ditching the traditional young marriage and waiting until they're older to tie the knot. There are more people in their 20s who don't have a live-in partner. So under those circumstances, I think less sex is obviously going to happen. Americans in their 30s and 40s and beyond, meanwhile, are much more likely to be married than those in their 20s. These age groups are now more likely to have sex in a given year than their younger peers. Increase in casual relationships, talking stages, etc. equals one-off hookups, random one-night stands, instead of that increased consistent intimacy.
And the only guys who are getting those one-night stands are the top 20% guys. That's why if you're an average guy thinking, man, I'm not getting no pussy, I'm not getting no hookups, that's all I want. It's because you're not good enough, man. These bitches are only going for guys at the top. Me, basically. So you got to get your game up. And what you said about the 20s thing, where people are just hooking up in their 20s, it's basically the females. They're going through their whole phase in their 20s. Like when I was 21, I could not get a 21-year-old chick. But now I can't keep them off me now that I'm 29, almost 30. So the game switches. If you get your fitness up, you get your money up, everything does a 180, man. And you all of a sudden you're on top and you get to pick and choose and say, nah, bitch, nah, get away. So that's where you want to be as a man, the top 20% of guy, the top 20% of dudes, the kind of guy who pumps and dumps these chicks and doesn't call them back. That kind of guy.
Which I think is really interesting. But when we're talking about the decline of youthful marriage, it was very normal, 50 years ago for people to get married when they were 18.
And all these chicks are hooking up, because guys will fuck anything, even the guys at the top. On a slow Tuesday, I'll fuck a 6, no problem. But then the 6 starts thinking that I'm her level, and I've seen that happen to them. But it's like, nah, I'm just here for the pussy. You're just here for the pussy. And after it's done, bye-bye. But they don't seem to understand that. Now she's going to think that I'm her standard.
20.
And that's also what's going on with the game. That's why these chicks, even past their best before date, even past 29, 30, they're not settling anymore because they've been pumped and dumped by so many high-value dudes that they think the high-value dude is what they deserve for a long-term relationship or marriage. And nothing is further from the truth.
18 might be a little bit young. 20, 22. Now, out of all the people I know, it's a good 50-50 of who is married by this point in life and who is not. I'm 26, just for reference. I'm engaged. I'm going to be married next year, so I'll be married technically at 27. I have a handful of friends who got married at 23, 24, some 26, but I have a lot of friends who are my age and still single. Or they have a boyfriend or someone that they haven't really been dating that long. I have a friend who is 31 or 32 and she's not married. So it's just very interesting to look at the difference and how people...
So she has friends who are thoughts, probably. They're hoeing around. Yo, when a chick tells you, I'm not ready, that means she wants more dick. So if you're a guy 25, 26, and your girl's also the same age, and she says, well, I'm not ready yet. I don't know if I want to get married right now. That means she wants to try more penis. That's what that means.
are waiting so much longer now to get married versus in the past. And I think it does have
And all these women end up being cat ladies. All of them. Invest in cat food, like Fresh and Fit says.
a lot to do with women's financial independence and women, you know, making money and not necessarily relying on their husbands for income and being able to do it for themselves, and that being less of a factor as to why women,
Especially if your income is basic as a man. If you have a basic income, they don't need you anymore. They only want you if you're a guy who has a boat or a Ferrari or like at least an AMG or M.
get into
You know,
marriages.
why would they want you if you're a basic ass dude, you know, and you're not that great looking, and on top of that you drive like a basic ass Civic or something. You don't even have the fucking leather seats option. Why would they want you, bro? You don't even have leather seats. They can get that shit themselves. And it makes sense because hypergamy does not seek its own level. Women want a guy who's better than them in every single way. They want a guy who's better than them financially. They want a guy who's better than them strength-wise. They want a guy who's taller than them, etc., etc. They want a guy who's smarter than them. So hypergamy does not seek its own level. So you guys got to get your game up. I keep emphasizing, but you have to get your game up. There's no just being average anymore. I have a 9 to 5, you know, I make a basic income and I'm going to get a wife who listens to me and is going to give me children. That's gone. You might be able to find that if you have some other attributes or qualities that, you know, are not financial, like if you're a really handsome looking guy like myself. But otherwise, man, it's not going to happen. You have to level up. Stop leveling up in these video games and level up in real life.
Relying on someone for money. I don't think that's really as much of the case anymore, although it still is for some people. It's not as common. I see this conversation happening a lot on social media of like, you should wait until you're older to get married. Like, don't waste your 20s in a marriage. Wait until you're in your 30s or wait until you're older.
They tell this woman, and that's what's fucked up the game, because they wait too long to get married. These bitches don't even start thinking about marriage till they're 29, 30. And by that time, the guys they would have gotten when they were 21, 22, 23, when they were high. Back then, they could have gotten the high value guys that they want at 30, 31. And guys who are high value, we'd rather have a 21-year-old chick with a low body count, less times her heart's been broken. We'd rather have that over a 31-year-old career chick with cats and may or may not have a communicable STD.
And have fun in your 20s.
Fuck
and I
that.
think that's something that's being talked about a lot more now than it obviously was in the past. I mean, you see things, people posting on TikTok about it and just really all over the place. I think men in general feel as though they can wait a little bit longer or wait until they're a little bit.
We don't feel like we can wait longer, sweetheart. We can wait longer because we can keep making sperms till we're fucking basically dead. But women, by the time they're 30, 90% of their eggs are gone. So it's not about a feel like. It's just biological fact.
The older to get married because they're not really dealing with a fertility window. And I don't want to seem
Exactly.
offensive by saying that, but that's just kind of the truth. They don't.
See how she has to say, I don't want to sound offensive by saying that. Just to state a biological fact, she has to worry that she might get canceled. That's the world we live in now. Just stating a biological fact can get you your YouTube banned and you removed from society. If you say basic truths. It's crazy, man.
Worry
This is
about
the
that,
world
so
we
it
live
makes
in now.
sense as to why men feel as though they can wait a little bit longer to get married. But, you know, as women have kind of taken on a more masculine role, they're kind of starting to adopt the male mindset when it
Men are becoming feminine, women are becoming masculine.
comes to that as well, which I think is really interesting. You know, women are waiting until they're in their late 30s to have kids now, and everything's just getting so pushed back.
And the kids end up having disabilities, man. I saw this kid at a Subway. He was autistic, and his mother, I could tell, was an elderly woman, and he was maybe 14, 15. So I did the math. She probably had him when she was 40. And if you have a geriatric pregnancy, which this woman did, the chances of your kid having autism goes up like tenfold, or other kinds of disabilities. So it's I really felt bad for this kid, man. And it's because society has taught them, no, wait till you're fucking 39 to have a kid. You can freeze your eggs.
and less rushed. And I think there are positives and negatives to that I won't totally get into today.
Yeah,
But what I'm
because
really trying to
I
say
just got into one of them, and she doesn't want to get into that because she doesn't want to get canceled. And I understand, but not everybody has giant balls like I do.
is that it makes sense when you look at it from this whole like young marriage perspective, because people just aren't getting married under 30 as much as they used to. People are waiting until they're a little bit older or even late 20s. But when you think about men specifically,
Women are waiting and men are not getting married at all. Especially the high value guys. We know what's up, man. The game is rigged against us. Family court is rigged against us. Why would you want to get married in a Western country? I ask guys this all the time. What is it that you get out of a woman through marriage that you can't get otherwise? Is it commitment? Is it sex? Is it children? Is it company? You can get all of those without the government getting involved. And if you have to get married, do a religious ceremony. Go to the church. Do a nikah if you're Muslim. You don't have to get married and get the government involved in your life as a man. And then they get to take your assets if she decides to suck a new dick and leave you. They get to take half your shit, more than half, once the lawyers get involved. You'd have to be a maniac to get married in a Western country in 2022, especially without a prenup.
wait
Don't get married at all, I would say.
even longer than women, and often are a little bit older than the women that they're with. So it makes sense when you think about it. But before I had read these articles, I really never thought about it that way. The next point here, which kind of involves hypergamy a bit, is the fact that more men are unemployed or maybe aren't making as much money as a lot of their female counterparts. So this says, for most of the past 3 decades, 20-something men and women reported similar rates of sexlessness, but that has changed in recent years. Since 2008, the share of men younger than 30 reporting no sex has nearly tripled to 28%. That's a much steeper increase than the 8%.
Let's look at this graph. Kyle, I'm doing a video. Not now. I pet you already. Out. 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 Yeah, that looks about right. So you can see that the men are much higher up in the decline and women not so much. So women are fucking somebody. And it's not most men who are getting the pussy. It's the 20% of guys, as I mentioned earlier. Tinder released their numbers on this, and so did OkCupid. You guys can look this up. The top 80% of women want only the top 20% of guys. So anywhere from a 2 to a 10, they all want the top 20% of guys.
Has nearly tripled to 28%. That's a much steeper increase than the 8 percentage point increase reported among their female peers. There are several potential explanations for this. Labor force participation among young men has fallen, particularly in the aftermath of the last recession. Researchers also see a connection between labor force participation and stable relationships, she said. The survey showed, for instance, that 54% of unemployed Americans didn't have a steady romantic partner, compared with 32% among the employed. This is obviously nothing new. This is a topic that has been discussed a lot, especially here on YouTube. We've talked about hypergamy before, and the fact that even though now women are making more money and are more successful in the workforce, they still tend to go for men who are either at their level or still above them. So,
like I said, hypergamy never seeks its own level. They always want a man who's better than them.
This is no surprise. I was not surprised to see the 54%.
So as they start making more and more, they want a guy who makes more than them. So if a chick makes $40,000-$50,000, ain't no way she's gonna be content with a guy who also makes $40,000-$50,000. What happened, ladies? I thought the whole point of this feminism equality shit was that you wanted to be equal. So you don't really want to be equal. You want a guy who's superior than you. You say. I already know these things, but it's like these bitches, man. They don't understand how shit works. They don't even understand how they own operate.
Of unemployed men are not in
They don't even know how their own brains work.
relationships or don't have a romantic partner. You know, that just goes back to what women are attracted to and what women look for. And a lot of the time, unemployed men are not kind of in that equation.
And that's
And again,
understandable.
I don't say that to be hurtful. I just say that looking at these statistics. So
I don't think hypergamy is a bad thing, by the way, guys. It's driven our evolution forward, and we're better because of it. So I don't think it's a bad thing that women look for a guy who's better than them. It's just human evolution. You got to deal with it. If you're a guy who's mad about that, then you're not doing something right in life, and you need to level up, my friend.
That one was more obvious to me as a reason why a third of men under 30
It drives our evolution forward. It's better. It's good for us.
are not having sex, because a lot of men in this age demographic are unemployed. And that leads me into my next point here, which is that more young people than ever are still living with their parents. So this says, young men are also more likely to be living with their parents than young women. In 2014, for instance, 35% of men ages 18 to 34 were living in their parents' homes, compared with 29% of women in that age group. At the risk of, this is funny, it says, at the risk of stating the obvious, when you're living at home, it's probably harder to bring sexual partners into your bedroom. So obviously when it comes to bringing people home, maybe men feel embarrassed to bring people home if they're still living with their parents. I've had a lot of men reach out to me and say, hey, I still live at home, I'm 24, should I even bother getting a girlfriend? Taking an even deeper look at this than just, bringing people home to your parents' house, a lot of women, like I said before, tend to go for men who are either at their level or above. And of course, there are women out there that don't care. I think when you're young and you're trying to save money, or you don't really have...
And I know this because I know these things. I haven't watched this video before, full disclaimer.
a job where you can support yourself yet, especially as expensive as things are nowadays, it's very normal to live at home with your parents when you're young. Like, that's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about. Of course, maybe you should be working to a goal to eventually be able to support yourself and move out, but when you're in your early 20s, that's a very normal thing these days compared to, again, before, when more people were getting married younger. They were moving out on their own with their wives and living together versus, being 24, unmarried, and still living at home the way things are now. So things are just very different. The dynamic is incredibly different. But as this states, more men are living at home with their parents than women are. So when you think about a woman who is going for someone at her level or above, maybe that includes a man who is living out on his own, or is successful on his own, or has his own apartment or house, or whatever it is. Of course, that's not always the case. I don't want to make it seem like if you live at home with your parents, you're doomed. When I actually met my fiance, he was still living at home.
Yeah, guys, don't listen to her. It does matter. You need to get your own place. Her fiance is probably a Chad, let's be honest. Like, if I don't know what he looks like, let's find out, man. Because I know these bitches are full of shit. No offense to Courtney Ryan. I'm actually using her content, so I shouldn't be cursing at her. I don't mean you personally, Courtney. I'm sure you're a fine lady. I don't know much about you. Wait. You are good looking. Let's see. Courtney Ryan, fiance. Oh, no way, bro. No. Was I wrong? Hell no, bro. Is that her fiance? No way, dude. Okay, she must be like 30 plus. I think she is, yeah. So she's 30 plus. So she okay. So what happened here is she met this guy past her epiphany phase. She already had the Chads. They pumped and dumped. And then eventually she settled for this guy when she was 29, 30. And then she got this beta boy, Brad, because he looks like he works IT. So he probably makes good bank. But judging by that shirt, that looks like decent watch right there. I think he's a guy who has money. He looks like a geek. He looks like a app creator or something. And I'm in the tech business myself, but I don't look like a geek like this guy. In the words of the great Andrew Tate, you look like a geek, bruv. So she got this guy just when the bar was about to close. Last call. She knew them eggs were gonna expire, so then she grabs this guy. But she's been banging Chads her whole life, and maybe this guy didn't have anything back then because she knew he was gonna be something, so she picked him. But I'm telling you, by Courtney Ryan, especially back in the day, I'm telling you, this girl was a dime piece when she was 21, 22. You can't tell me she wasn't fucking like Calvin Klein supermodel looking like dudes on Tinder, 100%. So don't listen to you can never listen to a woman's advice when it comes to getting other women. That's why you don't ask a fish how to catch fish. You ask a fisherman. Where's that video? Where's that fucking video, man? Oh, by the way, so I had to put this in one of the videos because the stream was taken down for deceptive practices, even though there were none. And they granted my appeal and the video was put back on, but the stream still ended. The last 20 minutes of the stream are still lost. So I only got the first 20 minutes in. And even though they admit I did nothing wrong, but that part of the stream is still gone. Because they cancel your stream and then it stops uploading while you're streaming. But it is what it is. When you tell the truth, you get in trouble. Where's this fucking video, man? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, there you go.
I was in college. He was like 23 or 24. So it's very normal to be in your early 20s and still living at home. And I was like 23. Actually met my fiance. He was still living at home. I was in college. He was like 23 or 24. So it's very normal to
Whoa,
be
no
in
way.
your early 20s and still living.
Man, how did this happen then? If they were both if they're both in their early 20s, how did she end up being engaged to this guy? Is he her fiance really? What? Bruv, no way, man. Okay, I'm wrong. I will admit when I'm wrong. And Courtney Ryan, you have amazed me. I am amazed and impressed. And I'll admit that I was wrong.
Living at home, and I didn't ever think anything of it. But all of these things kind of tie in together. The unemployed, the living at home with your parents. I mean, it's kind of a common theme here. But the last thing
And he did, if he was going, I don't know what he was doing.
is technology and porn. So
But there has to be some offset. Maybe this guy has a huge schlong or something. There has to be something. He's probably packing meat, bro. Has to be. No, that's not it. Hey, he has to be, bro. Why else would she marry this guy? Or be engaged to him? Or she saw huge potential in this guy. Like she knew that he was going to be something. Let's see what his net worth is. He's worth $2 million. Okay, so he made bank, bro. He made bank. She knew from the beginning that he was going to be something. That's why she went for him. So, like I said, there has to be some offset. There has to be something. These bitches ain't the Salvation Army. They ain't going to give you the pussy for nothing. I'm always right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
this says, now people hide behind their iPhones, meet via dating app profiles, busy themselves behind computer games, and so forth. Virtual meetings have replaced in-person
I'm the fucking best detective in the world.
interactions. Pornography is the internet's most popular go-to. For many, sex is less an interpersonal relationship, no matter how shallow, and more an act in which the partner, if he or she exists, is a fantasy appendage. We are more into ourselves, into others less. Is it really such a surprise that sex is on the decline? Nope. This also says, one final factor that may be affecting American sexual habits at all ages is technology. There are a lot more things to do at 10 o'clock at night right now than there were 20 years ago. Streaming video, social media, console games, everything else, including porn. That may speak to the drop-off among the sexually active. The share of people who are having relations once a week or more now sits at 39%, compared with 51% in 1996. As our interactions and meeting people increase more virtually and online versus in person, you can imagine that there also will be a decrease in sexual activity among people, because a lot of people can't even meet someone online. There's a ton of men out there that can't even get a match on a dating app. So how the heck are they supposed to meet people?
Exactly, and that's most guys. So if you're not getting any matches on Tinder, you need to step your game up.
And now
You don't look good enough, or you ain't got the right suit on, or you ain't got the right fit, whatever. Your face ain't right, or you're too fat. There's something, or it's very, very obvious that you play Xbox and eat Cheetos all day. You can't have any of those pictures on there.
if you
Get
approach someone
get you a professional photographer. Take pictures in some cool places. Put them on. It'll make a big difference. And the first thing is your fitness. You can't be fat. You can't be ugly and fat and broke. If you're all three of those, forget it.
in public, they freak out and post a video online trying to publicly humiliate you. If you didn't see the entitled Gym Girl video I posted recently, I went into detail about what this looks like for the future of dating. Are people going to stop, meeting in person or approaching altogether because of the way things are online. I mean, it's really just interesting to think about the future of dating and where things are going to go. But
Things are gonna go to where the top 20%, where what's let me restart that thought. So where things are going is only the guys at the top 10% are going to be smashing. Now right now it's top 20%, but as time goes on and these bitches heads become more and more filled with air and nonsense and astrology and Netflix shows and Cardi B, they're going to become more and more picky and more delusional about what they can actually get. So it's going to become more and more difficult if you're an average guy to get any kind of action. So step your game up, start working out now, start getting your money up right now. The time is now. Don't delay. Because I'm telling you, it's going to get really difficult for you average motherfuckers out here. I hear guys complaining all the time. Oh, how do I get bitches, man? I'm not getting matches. It's because you're not what they want, man. You're not what they want. Like Andrew Tate said, man, go look in the mirror, look yourself in your own eyes, and admit that you wouldn't want to fuck you either. Why should a female fuck you, bro? If you're out of shape, fat, loser, broke, bald, whatever, all that combined, why would she want to fuck you? It's not in their biology to want to fuck loser men. And that's completely understandable. Just like it's not in our biology to want fat old bitches with high body counts. You can't change biology. You can't fight that shit.
it's interesting, but also not surprising to me that a third of men under 30 aren't having sex. So I really just wanted to share these statistics with you and this data, and kind of just look at why this is happening. There are clearly a lot of reasons as to why this is happening, and when you really take a minute to think about it, it makes complete sense. And it's much more than just, oh, people are sitting behind their screens. There's a ton of other reasons as well, but I do think a lot of it has to do with the rise of social media and just how much less we interact with people in person. And even now, a lot of people are working from home. They aren't even meeting people at work or out and about. A lot of people are able to do everything from the comfort of their own home. So just an interesting thought. I would love to hear what you guys think down below. If you think there are any other reasons that I didn't talk about today as to why a third...
I already spoke to all the reasons, Courtney Ryan. And it'd be cool if you respond to the things that I said. I think she knows already all the things I said, and she would agree. But she can't be saying what I'm saying because she fears being canceled, and that's okay. Like I said, not everybody got nuts as heavy as these. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.